Welcome to Bringing Jesus to a Broken Heart. Today I have two guests from St. Joseph's Prayer Center in Patchouge, New York, and I have Linda Dudley, who is the director of the center, so we welcome her. Welcome,
Thank
Linda.
you. Hello.
And then we have Louise Kramer, who is also her associate at St. Joseph's Prayer Center. We're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to run it, work there, volunteer there, and what the purpose and the mission is. So, welcome again.
Thank you.
Linda, I'm going to ask you, since you're the director now, and of course I'll have some questions for Louise, what is your role as a director?
Well, as the director, you basically coordinate anything that goes on at the centre. The other people that are there do give a lot of support, but the director really sort of pulls things together. Sometimes, it's up to me to review maybe a new program that might be suggested, but really just to keep an eye on how things are flowing at the centre.
And Louise?
I was the director for 4 years prior to Linda, and then I felt that Jesus was saying, okay, your time is up, and to step down. I help Linda with any of the programs or give some input. I'm into a very contemplative type of prayer style right now.
I'll ask you first, Linda. How were you led to the prayer center?
That's a very good question. It was kind of a journey in itself, just much like people have a faith journey. I first heard about St. Joseph's Prayer Center through two people that used to be there as ministers themselves, and they were also former directors. And then at one point I was having just kind of a dark time in my life and looking for guidance. It was suggested that I go there for prayer, and that's what I did. I noticed right away that I felt like it was the first time I was really being listened to by somebody. It was all done with prayer, so I've drawn closer to God through that. And then it just progressed from there. I felt healing in my own life. And, when you begin to get a taste for the love of Jesus, you want more of it. The more I felt it, the more I felt drawn to be at the prayer center.
And Louise, what led you to the ministry of inner healing? The reason I'm asking, a lot of times for those who are not knowledgeable about that or want to come towards it, they sometimes have a misconception. But the truth is, if you really talk to every person who does healing ministry, your life becomes your ministry. Talk about why you were drawn to the inner healing ministry and what does that mean?
I had a conversion 33 years ago, which was phenomenal because all of a sudden I realized, that Jesus was real and he came to me in such a powerful way. But there was something that was lacking. There was something missing. And so a friend of mine had suggested that possibly I needed some inner healing and not to be offended by that. She had mentioned this to me about 3 times before I finally sat down and prayed about it. I was drawn to then call St. Joseph's Prayer Center. And I went there, and immediately it's like Jesus just takes control. The Holy Spirit is really there. So I think what happens is we have things that are so deep inside of us, we're not even aware they're there. Like I didn't even know what inner healing was, or that I possibly needed it. It didn't even occur to me because I thought my whole life was wonderful.
I'm sure that many people that walk through your doors can relate to that brokenness and knowing that, wow, you know what, I'm in a St. Joseph's Prayer Center where the stepfather of Jesus is named after, and I'm sure that brings a lot of comfort. And I think St. Joseph's Prayer Center helps you bring back your value, that all those brokenness and that those pieces that are shattered and we don't have questions and people left us and people abused us and people hurt us and people did all these different things, right? And we're like, okay, shell-shocked. And then we say, wait, Jesus says, I'm his beloved. Jesus says, I created you in my image. Jesus says,
That's right.
You are special. Okay, so that's where it begins. That's where the inner healing begins, right?
Right, that's exactly. Where it ends up is there, where you start in that place where you think that you have come to believe all those things, which are really lies about who we are.
Right.
What we're really trying to get to is exactly what you said, who Jesus says we are.
Because people could damage us with words. And then we take that as the truth. But I think when you
Right.
become a Christian and you do that inner healing work, you know that that was never about you. You know, and that's like the counseling piece. That's never about you. That's someone acting out on you. And the effects of that can damage that human being by those words and that criticism and that feelings of isolation, depression, so forth and so on. So I'm blessed to know the St. Joseph's Prayer Center, because now I know that there's a place that if, and Catholic social workers, if you're listening to this, there is a place that if you have patients that need beyond clinical work, that need that one-on-one precious time with Jesus, and for the healing part, the inner healing part, there is a place that offers that.
And we do the same. I mean, when we have people come, if we think they really need to see a counselor to
Right.
get clinical help, we send them on, working hand in hand also. Having work with the counselor, and then they can come and they're getting the inner healing.
Who's the founder? What was the vision? And what was the objective?
Well, Father James Wheeler, who was a Jesuit priest, was the founder. And along with him was Sister Dymphna Murray, and she was one of the Sisters of Mercy. They were the founders, and it was really Father Wheeler's ministry that the centre was founded on. But we're all operating under prayer, very heavy prayer. And that is really the way that we minister to people.
And that's evident because the two of you glow. Adoration, that's another topic, because I think at St. Joseph's Prayer Center you have adoration where people can come and adore, right?
Absolutely, every week we do.
We're at a standstill for some of those other questions. There's a point that we can talk about the guilt of things, but there's nothing like going to confession and getting it off your chest and
that's
and being set
exactly.
free.
That's a big part of it.
That's a big part of it, because then you know that you are truly forgiven and you're purified, because now you're back in God's grace.
Well, that's another part of the inner healing also, is because in the society today, there's so much infiltration into our souls, into our beings, and we might not even recognize what a sin actually is. We become desensitized to it. And so those sins cause a lot of blocks to hearing the Lord. So when we are in counseling, when we come across somebody that they mention something, we can suggest, we can't tell them, but we can suggest that they go to confession. And that can open up a lot of doors.
God's way, he was the most incredible theorist when it came to how do you get free, really. You know, when I was in grad school, I'm saying, okay, wait a minute. Jesus said this already. Forgiveness really sets us free. The bitterness doesn't hurt the person that has wronged us. So the forgiveness is what sets us free.
They have a hard time, I can't forgive. So what we suggest a lot of times is, well, then just pray for the grace to be able to forgive. It is a process. And then the other thing is that they don't have to become lovey-dovey with that person. You don't have to become best friends with that person because you forgave them. It just comes from the heart. It might not be a place that you're supposed to be with that person. It might be dangerous for you, but God still wants you to forgive them.
Well, you have a lot of resources and there's a lot of activities, and someone who wants to come to the prayer center can find their place in something that would fit for them, and then, really grow in the faith. So, and in the inner healing. I think that's important. And here, we're talking about adoration, and I want to bring this point across because we talk about knowing Jesus personally. And so many people will say, do you know Jesus personally? Well, in the Catholic faith, I feel like, yes, Jesus is alive and well, and we do know him personally. Adoration is sitting with him personally, being with him and adoring him. And Jesus has said, you spend 1 hour with me, and you can take that time, and that is life-changing. I did a show on adoration, so you'll have to stay tuned to it. And,
Adoration.
And it was, really powerful about, what adoration is and the benefits from it.
And we meet as a group every Wednesday, every other Wednesday now, and we go over prayer ministry, etc. But we sit before the Blessed Sacrament, and we say the Rosary before the meeting. That's a big part of who we are. We've had the Life in the Spirit seminar, and then we have the Divine Will group on Thursday mornings. So there's a group that meets at the prayer center for that.
I commend both of you for being in the prayer center, and we're all in this together. So we are honored to have you on.
Thank you.
Thank you very
and
much.
to talk about it. Just note that there is a St. Joseph's Prayer Center. And for those that are listening that don't need a clinician, or they do need a clinician, you can still go to the St. Joseph's Prayer Center and, and receive that inner healing if you have a broken heart. So thank you today for bringing Jesus to a broken heart. And I just want to put out the number if anybody needs to call and come and have your broken heart healed. Please contact St. Joseph's Prayer Center, and I'll give you 3 different referrals in order to reach them. Their phone number is 631-730-6210. They do have a website, which is www.stjosephsprayercenter.com. And you can also reach out by email at stjoepc@optonline.net. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Linda and Louise.
It's a pleasure being here.
And thank you for coming on Bringing Jesus to a Broken Heart. And again, may Jesus heal your broken heart. May you just rest in his peace and trust in his mercy.
Amen.
Amen.
How could it be this baby in my arms, sleeping now so peacefully, the Son of God, the angel said, how could it be?